I'm out here looking for mundane things today. I promised somebody I could get him some jars, and of course jars are the easiest things you can come up with when you're looking for bottles for some reason. But I found out they got a construction thing going on here. They're extending the road, so they're digging up some areas. I've been through here one time before, but it was so overgrown and I could not really find anything. But now with the help of the construction guys, which are, nothing you can do about it, I have discovered that they've dug up some things. And you got to be the early bird to catch the worm. So I'm out here early this morning and I'm digging stuff up. I came up with the milk. I got the forever present Atwood's bitters right here, and let's see, I got the Atwood's bitters, and I got a Harmon milk, and I think it has a little, does it have a ding on the bottom? It might have a ding on the bottom, but hey, I'm saving what's left of it, and I'm digging in this area here where there's seems to be some overfill. I'm not seeing anything really too fun, but you can see there's a lot of bottles all over the place. Pepto-Bismol, that's a jar. I promised the person I would get them jars, and I'll find some. It's just, you can see there's Prohibition whiskey. There's some other kind of weird 50s bottle. But at any rate, I'm heading into the woods to get some jars primarily, and this is just a lucky thing. So a little short on can't miss an opportunity if it shows itself. So a little Hardy Carter's, no, that's Waterman's ink probably. So that's it. So if I find something else I find interesting enough to video, I will do that. Other than that, well, talk to you later. Bye. Well, I'm in a 40 section of this back area here. It's all dump. It goes down about maybe 2 feet, maybe more. There's a lot of stuff in here. I just found a squirt bottle from the 40s. I don't know, there's a little squirt right there. But I don't know if he's going to handle it. Looks like he's coming off already. So, well, I'm going to go a little further here. I'm looking for jars, as I said, and I found a few. Got a little elephant. He's good luck. I hope I get that. Anyway, I'll keep going and talk to you later. Well, as you can see, I'm digging in this backyard dump. The owner came over and wanted to see what I was doing. Real nice guy, so he gave me permission. I just got to cover everything up the way I found it, pretty much. You can see they bulldoze here a lot. Anyway, I found a jar I wanted. This little flask. You got a coffee jar and a few other things. But I'm going to go a little further. I'm getting tired already. I know a place where I can just pick them up off the ground, so we're going to go there next. So, yeah, see you later. I have to show you a fluke that I just found, and it's a Cola. You can see, and it's blown in the mold, and this bottle never sold. Graham, Alabama. So, hey, it's out of its state, but in my hand, so I got it. Cola, very cool. I've got what I needed for today. Well, I'm not coming up with much right now. I got another one of these pedestal cream things, and but as you can see, I'm in the middle of a bunch of roots, so there isn't really, and the bottles are down here, but you can see that's a Fletcher's Castoria from the 50s. I mean, they did this 50s stuff. They got into they were in the 50s. Even I remember them, but it was another bottle flying out of here. But you can see, there's not much here for now, but I'll turn you back on when I find something interesting, okay? There we go. I've got a red, white, and blue Pepsi. It don't look like it's going to be much, so I'm not going to keep it. But there's some other stuff down here, so let me keep going. Now, here's something that everybody's pretty familiar with. See if it's whole. And it is. It's a Dr. Pepper. So I'm on the board with an older version of the D-Boss Dr. Pepper. So good for me. At least I found a soda that's in one piece. Other than that, I've been finding zero zilch is nothing. I mean, that's how these dumps go. They go from extreme. They go from extreme to nothing. So I'm going to keep going. But there we go, a Dr. Pepper. Here's one of those Calvin winery bottles. I don't know if I'll keep that, but it's an embossed wine bottle. Who knows? Let's keep going. Well, I went out digging. This is an accumulation of 2 days of digging, actually. I went out digging, and my essential intention was to just pick up bottles for a friend of mine, jars actually, for them to do some craft work. And I ended up, digging for bottles as I do. And so here we have what I came up with for myself. I have bags of jars, which I don't bother showing because they're really not, they're just mason jars. They're not worth anything to talk about. We've already covered most of that information. But these bottles here we're all pretty much familiar with, and I have a little background on some of them. We'll start from left to right with the Horton brewery bottle. This is an interesting bottle. Horton was started in 1933 out of the Manhattan Brewing Company. Their address was, I think, 461 or something like that, East 31st Street or something like that in Manhattan. And so Horton started in 33, which at the time was still within the Prohibition era, and we figure that it must have been a near beer in the beginning. But it lasted for a long time, from 33 to 41. So if you do find a Horton bottle, it doesn't go beyond 41. You might find them in a late 30s, early 40s dump. That didn't mean that they were still being produced at that time. They might have been reused for something else. But this is a beer bottle, and it's marked at the bottom. Horton Pilsner Brewery, and the address you can see there is, I think it's 483 West 139 Street in Manhattan. So just to let you know, these Hortons only go back to 1941. Here's a bottle that goes back further than that, and it's a Chericola. It's very, very pale in its embossing. Barely see it, as a matter of fact, but take my word for it, it's there. And this one comes from Birmingham, Alabama, which is, they had big bottlers there, and this bottle traveled quite a ways. It weighs about, I'd say, 1.5 pounds, maybe. It is a heavy bottle. And I found it at a construction site on my way to a place where eventually I started digging. So this one is self-explanatory. If you know your bottles, you know pretty much the history of this one. The Estelle Bottling Works was started in the 1880s. The brands that were there probably varied. They probably had a local brand, like all the bottlers did. But this one was a Coca-Cola soda water bottle. These are very common. They're getting harder to find. That says Estelle on there, and there's probably a Lawrence Glass Works. They're cool bottles. They're designed squared off, and then they have the stars. Generally, they're always the same. This is another nice heavy bottle. So this is from the Estelle Bottling Company that apparently ended in the late 20s. They stopped bottling from there. We all know Dr. Pepper. This is a Lawrence Glass Works. You can see that right there. And 6.5 ounces. So this is a 1940s, early 50s. 10, 2, and 4. I find a lot of these. These are as common as Coke sometimes. Now here's some information on this bottle. It's in bad shape, but I picked it up anyway. True-Aid. Now, where did True-Aid come from? Well, True-Aid was originally produced by a guy called Ward. And it was in California that he came up with a non-carbonated orange drink. And he got popular enough he moved to Illinois, in a little town there, and his offices were in Chicago. And eventually, in 1939, the True-Aid brand was officially incorporated. So this bottle was, or this brand went a long way. Now, they moved, I don't know how many times. Reading the article, this company was franchised by Coca-Cola, by Dr. Pepper. 7-Up was their biggest franchisee who carried True-Aid. And they carried it for a long time. Eventually, though, luck for True-Aid started to wane in the 50s. So this bottle was on the cusp of big changes, and it was bought, I think, by 7-Up and PepsiCo. And 7-Up was having financial difficulties in the 1970s and 80s, so they dropped True-Aid, and it went into obscurity. It was eventually, after sitting in a closet, we might say, for two decades, CCI, another beverage company, wanted to fill out their non-carbonated beverage line, and they found that True-Aid was up for grabs. Ward had died a long time ago, and this other guy who had bought the franchise also passed away. So no one had it, and no one's carrying the brand. So CCI went and bought it, and it is still around through them, and no longer, I think it's still non-carbonated, and it now pasteurized. The old ones were not pasteurized. But what made this so popular, especially here in the South, is non-carbonated beverage were the thing. Carolinas, Georgia, people preferred this kind of soft drink. So this is where you find it mostly. From Florida, Alabama, Georgia, South and North Carolina. This is where you're going to find the True-Aid. It was a national, by the time in the 50s, it was covered by a lot of different franchisees, and so it was all over the country. And they even had a lemon flavor in a green bottle, and they claim that's the rarest of them. And so that's a little interesting. I didn't really know too much of the history of this company, and if you can see, this one is from a franchise, True-Aid Bottling Company, Hickory, North Carolina. This is where this bottle's from. The rest of them here, this one here is a Flint bug spray, or used for insecticide. They would have screwed this up into a pump, a tube with a handle that had a pump attached to it, and then they would spray their plants with whatever came in here. And we also have a milk, and this is Harm's Dairy. This dairy was a big competitor with Starland here in Savannah, and has a little damage, but I don't care. This is not an easy bottle to find. This little pint milk with that extra care. So it's a cool bottle, always cool bottle to find. These Harms were pyroglazed most of the time, and they only had a few that were actually embossed. So you're lucky if you find them. So there you go. Now, in the video, this bottle, my camera went into slow motion mode, and I sound like a lion roaring. I'm talking about finding the bottle. But this one is the second one of its kind that I found, and it goes back to the 1930s. The dump I was digging in apparently was from the late 30s to the late 40s, and it went on beyond that. There was junk in there from the 50s and 60s, but I'm not talking about those. And And of course, again, we have the colorful bottles for friends that I'm going to hand out. So that's it. That's my my dig. Like I said, it was a combination of 2 days, and I did okay. These are the same old things, but you know, they all have a story. True Aid, I didn't really involve myself with the history of it until just recently, and so I know that it's a late comer. It's what, 1939. So you're not gonna. I don't think you're going to find. I think there is an embossed one. I might have an embossed True Aid. Don't quote me on that, but I think I do. They had several. It all depends on the bottlers and their suppliers, and who supplied them with the bottles. So it's possible that there's different variants. Like I said, there's a green version of the lemon True Aid that's out there somewhere. But well, will you ever find it? I never know. These little green bottles are. I really like them. I like that color. It's an emerald green, and you don't see that color so often. So I'm going to be off again maybe next week. I'm having a hard time getting to these places because it seems that where I'm living here, construction is off the hook. I mean, they're widening roads, they're closing lanes, there's construction everywhere. Couple of places where there were dumps, there's nothing there now except big, what do they call it, logistic warehousing that are acres large. I mean, they take up acres. They're ugly buildings. I guess because we live near a port, we have to have these big storage containing places. I just wonder, in the end, what will happen to them when they don't need them anymore. You're going to have these big buildings. I guess you can make skating rinks or, you know, indoor habitats. Who knows? But right now, what they're doing is destroying the forest, is literally what they're doing. But that's my rant about that, so we're not going to go into that. See you later. We'll talk to you when I dig up more. Bye.